Hello and welcome to the channel. My name's Tony and this is a space where I talk about all sorts of things, one of them being life lessons learned the hard way. And this is my second video on burnout. In my last video I shared my own burnout story, the messy personal version of how it built up over years and finally crashed during the pandemic. This one's going to be a bit more structured. We'll look at the causes, risks and signs of burnout, as well as what recovery means. But before we dive in, just a quick note about my partnership with Shortform. Shortform offers in-depth summaries of over 1,000 non-fiction books, plus podcasts and articles on tons of topics, including burnout, stress and health. It's just a great tool for busy or brain foggy people who want to keep learning, so use the QR code on the screen or the link in the description below for a free trial and a 20% discount. Now, until fairly recently, burnout was mostly seen as feeling tired or stressed at work, but the pandemic really changed that. It brought burnout into the spotlight, and since then, research has deepened and expanded our understanding of it. Now, there's not much point in me simply regurgitating what you can already find online. The way I see it, my role is to enrich that information by drawing on my own experience. So while this will be a more structured and somewhat objective look at burnout, it still is inevitably a cherry-picked list of insights from my own perspective. So with that in mind, let's dive in. So let's get one thing clear. Burnout isn't just feeling a bit stressed or needing a holiday. It's a state of chronic exhaustion from prolonged stress, often work-related, but not always. I'd argue that it's very rarely just about one thing. It's the stressy job and the stuff happening behind the scenes. Family, relationships, health issues, or just the sheer mental load of holding everything together. But it goes deeper than that. It's also about how we react to stress, our mental habits and patterns, and the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and how we give value to the world. And spoiler alert, it's not the so-called fragile ones who burn out. They tend to know their limits. It's the ones who pride themselves on their grit and determination. They're the ones who crash and burn. And sorry ladies, but for women in midlife, burnout's gonna hit even harder. Not just because of work and family demands, but because of the huge hormonal shifts that happen at that time of life. Okay, so we know that the cause of burnout is ongoing stress, and that there are multiple factors. So let's look at the key ingredients. So number one, like I say, multiple stressors. I'm sure it is occasionally the case that someone experiences burnout just from the one aspect of their life, but your risk is going to increase the more stressors you're juggling. So if work's overwhelming and you're dealing with family issues, health problems or anything else, your nervous system's going to get overloaded and eventually shut down. So number two, again, an obvious one, but it's lack of downtime. When those multiple stressors come one after another with no real break in between, obviously your mind and body don't get a chance to recover. And over time, this constant pressure drains your energy and resilience, making burnout almost inevitable. Number three, high stakes and/or financial insecurity. Let's be real, we only stay in stressful situations when the stakes feel too high to leave. And typically that's financial, especially if we're talking about work burnout. But very often the stakes aren't just financial. They can often be emotional. Maybe you've worked for years to build the life you thought would make you happy, only to find it's slowly destroying you. That's when the sunk cost fallacy kicks in. I'll let you Google that one. And then number four, social conditioning and your own personality. If you're the kind of person who always gives 110% to everything, who believes that your worth is tied to hard work and usefulness, sooner or later you will burn out. And there's a good chance you're the hyper-independent type, the belief that you have to do everything yourself. Many of us, especially of a certain age or generation, we were raised to be very capable and self-reliant. But think of it this way. Any playwright worth their salt will tell you that the very traits that make a character powerful and admirable are often the seeds of their own downfall. Conscientiousness becomes overfunctioning. Independence turns into isolation. All things, by the way, that today are recognised as a trauma response. And so you find that the very things that once helped you power through are now the things keeping you stuck. Something to be especially aware of with burnout is that it's very, very sneaky. It can creep up really slowly. As I said in my last video, it's like the proverbial frog in the pan of slowly heating water. The temperature rises very gradually, and by the time you realise there's a problem, you're already boiling alive. Wind. So here are some signs and symptoms to look out for. Number one, overwhelm. And again, that might seem obvious, but I'm not just talking about having a busy day or even a busy few weeks, but when you've gone many months or even years feeling stretched too thin. When you're doing your best to hold it all together, but beneath the surface, you're like a duck, frantically paddling to stay afloat. It's that sense of non-stop pressure with no visible light at the end of the tunnel. So you adapt, you accommodate, you tell yourself you'll step back and reassess next week. Except you never do, because although you don't realise it, you've already started to lose clarity and perspective. And in some weird, warped way, it actually feels easier just to soldier on as you are than to pause and rethink things. This eventually leads to denial and numbness. You might be vaguely aware of some bad feelings bubbling away beneath the surface, maybe a sense of regret, frustration, resentment, but those are really inconvenient to deal with, so you push it down and you call it staying positive. And eventually you stop feeling much of anything at all, and joy feels like a distant memory. Number three, detachment. You might have been giving it your absolute best for ages, and then quite quickly the switch changes to, I just don't care anymore. So you carry on, but you're just going through the motions. Now, in a way, this is good. This is a safety mechanism to preserve your sanity. But this wild swing from full throttle, I'll give it anything, to quickly, I don't give a shit, that's not healthy. Then we get a decline in cognitive function. Your memory isn't as sharp, you struggle to focus, you're basically working harder but achieving less. And then, of course, there are all the physical symptoms. The main one for me is what I call tired but wired, when you feel exhausted but you're still running on adrenaline, so it's almost impossible to rest and your sleep gets really disrupted. And that really quickly creates a bad feedback loop. Then you might notice changes in your appetite, you might get sick more often, and by this point, your whole stress response system has got completely dysregulated. That's why with burnout, it's not as simple as feeling very tired or sad or stressed. For me, I'd describe the whole mental and physical sensation as more like being endlessly jet-lagged or hungover. And eventually, it's like I didn't even feel fully alive anymore. I felt like some kind of ghost or zombie, or a zombie ghost, a zoast. So as soon as you notice any of these symptoms, that is your signal to take a step back, rest up, and take a good look at what's going on and re-strategize your whole approach. Burnout is no joke. And like I say, it's sneaky. So please, please catch it early before it spirals. Okay, here's a list of what I wish I'd done differently, specifically relating to my experience of occupational burnout, but I think most of these can be applied to other burnout situations as well. So the first thing is, I wish I'd listened to my gut. Despite how it looked on paper, I knew from the start the job wasn't a good fit. The red flags were there, even in the interview, but I overrode my instincts, and I really wish I hadn't done that. I should have walked away sooner. Number 2, set firm boundaries. Once I realised I'd been handed a role way beyond my remit, I should have bounced it back to management and made it their problem. Instead, I tried to prove myself. Never again. Number 3, asked for help. Not just from friends and colleagues and family, but from a professional, a therapist, a counsellor, someone to help me think clearly and explore my options. That would have been a really good investment of my time and money. Number 4, and this is a big one, it might even warrant its own video, but some of us really need to redefine what doing our best looks like. Because it's only in the last few years I realised I'd gone through most of my life, albeit subconsciously, believing that doing my best meant dragging myself to the finish line even if my legs were broken. Like, I've still got arms, I can crawl, anything less isn't doing my best, right? But now I realise doing your best actually stops before survival mode kicks in. Doing your best still includes saying, this is enough, I am enough, and I need a rest. I'd love to offer you a quick fix or something new and exciting and sexy for burnout recovery, but I'm afraid it's none of those things. Recovery isn't quick. A bubble bath and a 2-week holiday won't cut it. You'll probably need a whole life reckoning, reevaluating your priorities, learning to set real boundaries, and forgiving yourself for not being superhuman. Your new priority has to be your health, and that's all the foundational stuff. Wholesome food, good sleep, saying no to things that drain you, gentle exercise every day, and I repeat, gentle exercise, because the last thing your nervous system needs is more cortisol pumping through it. And finally, you might have to accept that you'll never get back to your old self, but nor would you want to. Your old self is what got you into this mess. It's like that saying about never stepping into the same river twice. The water's moved on, and so have you. Your new self, hopefully, has firmer boundaries, different priorities, and a clearer sense of what matters. And that's not a loss, that's growth. Because nothing is worth sacrificing your sanity for. Your health and sanity are sacred, and it's your responsibility to protect them. So go on, be a rebel, let yourself rest. If any of this resonates, please know you are not lazy or weak or broken, but you are just a human, and humans have limits, even the best of them. If you feel comfortable, please share your story in the comments below. I think we're building a really nice supportive community here, so a big thank you again to everyone who shared the journey with me so far. You know what to do, guys, hit the buttons, take good care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.